What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another great edition of Symone with the Sports. Today, we have a very special guest. He is going to provide us so much insight into one of our most exciting draft picks out of the 2024 NFL Draft. He is Coach Surstick from Houston Christian. He is a defensive quality control, edge rusher, and linebacker coach for Houston Christian. Coach, thank you so much for the time.
You bet. I'm happy to be here. Hopefully we have a great conversation about Jaylx. I'm really excited about it.
Yes. So I know you were excited during the draft when you heard Jayx's name called. What was your reaction?
Most definitely. Anytime you got a guy going into the league, it's always very exciting. All the work they put in, all the time and effort. I've gotten a lot of people that aren't involved in the know what's going on with it. They don't understand the time it really takes to be a college athlete and everything else. So it's very rewarding for him to see his dreams come true, especially when you go in day two. That was a big, I don't want to say a huge shocker. We had some inklings that it was going to be a little bit earlier than that. We were kind of expecting maybe early day three, but when you're going to a day two pick, and you're going to a team like the Eagles that's competitive, that's always really exciting for everybody involved. So I know Jaylx and his family was really involved. Coaching staff at Houston Christian was really involved. We're really proud of them.
And it seemed like the Eagles were locked in on Jaylx because we did a lot of moving around. We did a lot of shuffling with that third-round pick. So it's kind of like we knew we were going to get the guy that we wanted. And a lot of people were saying that our new defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, was kind of keyed in and locked in on Jaylx and felt like he could get him with that third-round pick. So when you saw him go to Philly, everyone keeps saying he fits Vic perfectly. What was your reaction to Philly specifically?
And that's just it. I think Coach Fangio does a great job with defenses. Obviously, he has a great history in his defenses in the league. Obviously, he was targeting Jaylx and his skill set. I do think he understands that it's a small project. I think Jaylx moving up to that level will have to get used to that competition, that everybody is great at that level. And I think he knows that. But in the same sense, I think he's good enough where he can find places to contribute early, which is what you want with that third-round pick. You want somebody that can contribute in spaces right away, be a role player in some things, and then maybe even by mid-season, whatever, come into even a more prominent role in whatever he has doing. So it's obvious they have a plan for him, which I think is great for anybody going into the league. If a staff doesn't have a plan for you, your career can get cut really short. So I think that's just it. They had a plan. They knew what they want him for, and I think they're going to groom Will well. I think he has a big upside.
And the Eagles had a plan for him. Vic had a plan for him. But I think the pick caught a lot of us fans off guard just because he wasn't a name that was being talked about a lot from like the big talking heads and obviously coming from a smaller program. So when he was first taken off the board, he was described as a linebacker. He was described as a defensive end. He was described as an edge rusher. So coming right from the horse's mouth, how would you describe Jaylx on the field for you guys?
I think he is an outside linebacker, but saying that, I think his role is an edge rusher. I think that is exactly what fits his skill set. That doesn't mean he can't be in coverage and everything else. I know we'll talk about a little bit, but you saw him in coverage the first preseason game. We used him in coverage also a little bit at Houston Christian, but his prominent role was a pass rusher, and I think that's what is going to be, especially early on, that's what's going to be his skill set and what that defense wants from him. So again, the plan is there. Coach knows what he wants to get. Obviously, his performance at the combine, I'm sure, reassured that staff that, hey, look, this kid has the skill set. With what we want to use him for, he's a great fit for what we want. So, again, I know some people are probably saying, oh, that's a reach because he's a small school guy. But what is a reach? The draft is such a guessing game sometimes. I don't think it's a reach at all. Like I said, we were kind of expecting our staff to be an early third-day pick, but I don't think it's a reach at any means when you have a plan for how you're going to use a draftee and cater him and promote him in his role in the team. So I think it was a great job by everybody involved.
So we learned that Jaylx used to play safety, and then he converted over to edge rusher. How did that work? Was that in college or was that in high school? When did he make that conversion?
So my understanding is when I first got to, it was Houston Baptist at that time, was a different staff. I was part of 2 staffs in 2 years there. Coach Eachus reached out. Jaylx went into the transfer portal. He was at Cornell and he was playing safety. And Coach Eachus identified him real early and said, hey, look, your skill set, your body type, and everything else, I think you can go to the NFL as an edge rusher. So that is how the conversation started. And Coach Eachus is at Georgetown now, coaching defensive backs there. Really great job with our defensive coordinator at Houston Baptist. He saw that early. So came in. I mean, his job, we were a 4-man front at that time. So it was a Leo end, which is weak side end. And he was primarily that. He was an edge rusher. Doesn't mean he didn't drop in coverage sometimes, everything else, but that was his job. He was there to rush the passer. Doesn't take anything away from him stopping the run or anything like that. But his role, we knew, was going to be to rush the edge. So it was new for him. Again, I don't want to say he struggled at all because he's got the athleticism and skill set where he can just go and use those things and be naturally successful. But in the same sense, it takes a little getting used to. You don't have as much vision there being as close to the line of scrimmage and stuff. So again, there's a learning curve there. Then in the second year, we went to a 3-man front. Coach Daniels brought in the 3-4, and that's when we moved him to our will position at outside linebacker. And I think that fits him the best. Again, that doesn't mean he won't be on the line of scrimmage like you saw in the preseason game. He was lined up on the edge most of the time, even though he's listed as the outside linebacker there. But again, I think his prominent role is going to be edge rusher in the league. That's where his skill set is.
What was it like watching him and watching those highlights from that first game?
Really exciting. I think the things showed that I knew were there, which was, number one, his hustle and work ethic. I mean, he does not take a play off. We tracked loafs at practice, at games, and he was consistently 0 to 1 loaf per practice or game. I mean, he's extremely hardworking. So I was really excited to see that much of his character showed in the game, that, hey, look, this is an athletic kid. He's going to run all over the field. He's going to make plays. There's a learning process going on. He didn't seem to have that quick twitch that we saw right off the bat, which I think is normal. But in the same sense, you saw the athleticism there, and I think it was really exciting to watch.
Well, we're so excited. I know one of the biggest things that I saw a lot of, fans talking about on Twitter was that one big play with him in coverage, just making the tackles. And we're all like, okay, we thought we was getting an edge rusher, but this guy, he's great in coverage too. So you're saying that's not something we might not expect to see all the time, but he can be an inside linebacker at times.
And I don't know about an inside backer, but he definitely can be an outside backer. Now, inside linebacker is not out of the question. It's a different skill set. I think his key reading would have to be a little bit better. Again, that's not something he just naturally does. So they have to prove that to move him to the inside. But definitely in coverage, that's something he's did. Again, being a safety, everything else, he understands coverage concepts. He understands the techniques needed. A lot of times he's not going to be man up on a slot guy or anything else. It's going to be a tight end or a running back. So he has the skill set to succeed there. What I liked when we saw that play was that he obviously had the flat coverage, went out with the out route, and he knew the target out there. He knew another guy was out there and came off his receiver to the target receiver really quickly and made a solid tackle. So I think that shows vision. I think it shows technique. I think it shows those things that he has a skill set that isn't just one thing. He can do multiple things, and I think that's going to benefit him and the defense.
I like it. You need to start breaking down film. Something
I do a lot of not so much now. Taking the year off, like I said, it's a much needed rest, but I spend a lot of time in that film room just like the players do. So.
Is there a specific play? I know we went over some of the highlights that jumped out to you the most. Like, is there like a favorite play that had you like, ooh?
Well, believe it or not, it wasn't a play. It was his first tackle on special teams when he was on the kickoff. Again, a player like that is probably a backup player to start. Now, again, I haven't looked at the depth chart this week after the game. I know he's listed at number 2 on most depth charts, number 3 on some, but he's I'm expecting on special teams he's going to contribute. And to see him go through and come off a block and make that tackle, his second tackle of the game, I was very excited to see that, because that means, again, he's just playing and he's not thinking, and he's ready to run down there and give it his all. That actually was the most exciting play for me. Even though I was screaming on the couch when he looped in for that sack, I know Johnson got away from him, but I was on the couch screaming, get him, get him, get him. But again, the play where he made the play on kickoff was really exciting to me, because it showed the possibilities that he can bring to that football team.
So what I'm hearing is you're going to be rooting for the Eagles now.
Well, I'm rooting for Jaylx. I don't hate the Eagles, that's for sure. I don't know if you know, I coached 4 years at a Division II school, Millersville University in Pennsylvania. So I do have coaches buddies in Pennsylvania, and they reached out to me right after the draft. They were very excited. So I'm very excited for them. I like the Eagles. You know, again, I'm a Chicago guy, so I'm a Bears guy, but I will be rooting for the Birds, man. Go Birds.
I appreciate it. Well, Coach, I definitely appreciate the time. This just means so much to me. And like I said, just so much insight on Jaylx. So I appreciate the time.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. You know, good luck with the show and everything else, and go Birds.